Our youth today are going with begging bowls on the net. They sit in here, they're watching this, they read, and they are suffering an inferior complex. You're a Muslim, say it with a sense of gratitude, not with a sense of apology. Allah has given you a religion that's universal, a religion that will keep your head high. I travel often, and every time I travel, Allah is my witness. As I'm flying, when I get exposed to other cultures and how people eat, I just realize how beautiful Islam has taught me to eat. So when you're flying on a long haul and sitting in business class and you're reclining, and you see a person's eyes are riveted to the screen, and then he's eating, there's no humble or humility, and eating and then okay, it's just eating. No, what's that? And I know that's not the teachings. I would wash my hands, sit down. He was eating so humble, the messenger, that someone said, but look at him, he's like a slave. He said, that's not a criticism for me, that's a compliment for me. That's a compliment for me. That's precisely what I'm striving for. Ana akulu kama ya'kulu al-'abd. I eat like a slave. Ana la akulu muttaki'an. I don't ever recline and eat. Allah has given you and I a universal religion, a religion that has everything embodied in it. I am proud of the marriage of my Nabi to Khadija radiyallahu anha when she was 40 and my Nabi was 25. And with an equal level of pride, I am honored with my head equally high that my Nabi wedded Aisha radiyallahu anha at the tender age of 6 and the marriage was consummated at 9. I have no bones about it. If you have reservation or apprehension or uneasiness, for heaven's sake, flush it now so that Iman can remain in that heart. I am equally proud. And if you suffer a complex, you're a victim of propaganda. We can give you stats and we can open up the word pedophile linguistically. And then we can have a lengthy debate of who is a pedophile. And that's not my topic of discussion. But you can run your mind and do it. Suffice to say, Allah is my witness. I am proud of my Nabi on every aspect. I don't drop my tone when I speak about his marriage to Aisha radiyallahu anha. One point to mention in this regard. The kuffar and the infidels of Mecca leveled every allegation at him. From a magician to a soothsayer, to a liar, to a fortune teller. But even they accepted this because this was accepted by the norm of that time. Even they didn't object on it. Leave anything else. But that's by the way. That's not what buys and convinces my mind. My Nabi is perfect on every level. That's it. Chapter closed. That is my faith. When Umar ibn Khattab came to the black stone, he said, Ya Hajar, inni a'lamu annaka Hajar. Ma tanfa' wa la tadur. O stone, you remain a stone. You're nothing but a stone. But O Umar, your Nabi kissed it. Put your logic one side. Toe the line and kiss it. This is faith. We want you to go out, have your academic degree, but with an Islamic ethos, with an Islamic value system. Wherever you see conflict of interest, your faith must reign supreme. Wherever you see it, you go out to help. You quarantine the patient. As much as you want to rescue, but if the doctor's life is at stake, you back off. You want to help the patient, but not at the cost that it infects you. You want to acquire the sciences, but not at the cost that it infects my Iman. Somebody said this the other day and it struck a chord with me. When we look at the Prophet ﷺ, and he was the paragon, so it goes without saying, but even the Sahaba, they behaved and dealt and engaged and interacted with the greatest levels of psychology, but at that time it was not a formulated science. It was not a book that existed. Yet when they touched and spoke, it was brimming with therapy, psychology, gentleness, diplomacy, euphemism. Name it what you want to call it today in your flowery language. Sahaba possessed it. It wasn't a formulated instinctively. Allah guided them. And it's our lost legacy that today has been captured and book form, and it's workshop upon workshop, and we need it because how lives have happened, Complete. My message to you is, my brother, don't roam the net. My message to you is, my brother, don't look at immoral celebrities. My message to you is, my brother, stop idolizing wicked people. My message to you, my sister, is it's the greatest insult after having a man like Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam to turn for guidance or direction or navigation to anyone else. He gave us nothing short. He gave us nothing short for us to go around with begging bowls and see, can I have a look at this? Can I have a look at this? How do you do this? How do you live your family life? How do you have dinner? How do you have an outing? Like my Nabi didn't cover those angles. And he didn't groom his Sahaba to perfection. Allama Qurrafi said, لو لم يكن لرسول الله معجزة إلا الأصحاب لكفوه في إثبات نبوته. Oh my word, when I read this, my hair stood on end. There's dedicated books. Allama Suyuti has written a whole book on the miracles of the Prophet ﷺ that authenticate his prophethood. But then he writes this, Allama Qurrafi writes, if the Prophet of Allah left no legacy to substantiate his prophethood other than the companions he left behind, that was the loudest miracle. A man who can groom people to this level, what more proof do you want? If the Nabi of Allah left behind no miracle but his companions, لَكَفَوْهُ فِي إِثْبَاتِ نُبُوَّةٍ. I love every Sahabi. Allah is my witness. I have said it and I will say it again. I have no credit to my account, but I die promoting the love of Sahaba. And I'm optimistic from my kind Creator. My love for the noble companions will hopefully rescue me on the day of Qiyamah. And I beg you to make that dua for me. I have nothing to my credit, but don't ever speak ill of one Sahabi. Imam Shafi rahmatullah alayhi said, وَإِن كَثُرَتْ عُيُوبُكَ فِي الْبَرَايَا وَصَرَّكَ أَن يَكُونَ لَهَا غِطَاءُ تَسَتَّرْ بِالسَّخَاءِ فَكُلُّ عَيْبٍ يُغَطِّيهِ كَمَا قِيلَ السَّخَاءُ. If your sins have reached the roof and you're looking for a quick formula to reinstate yourself, to get close to your Allah, to conceal your faults, then start with generosity. You'll climb the ladder of virtue rapidly. That's your quick way. I'm not condoning wrong. I'm not justifying. Who am I and what muscle do I have? May Allah protect me and may Allah protect you. But I'm just giving you an alternative and a halal option here that if you give, Allah will increase. In English they say, you can give without loving, but you cannot love without giving. You can give without loving, but you cannot love without. Zuba'a bint Zubair ibn Abd al-Muttalib radiyallahu anha. Zuba'a bint Zubair ibn Abd al-Muttalib. I was quoting one narration, Musahiq ibn Qais ibn Rabi' ibn Hilal. Some long name like this. So one youngster came to me and said, Sheikh, but how you remember those names? I said, but how you remember the names of those cricket players, man? We are in challenging times. We got to hold this child. We got to embrace this child. One of my teachers said this to me and I live with this advice daily. He said, whenever you hurt with your child, forgive him immediately. Forgive him immediately and ask Allah to forgive him. Because while you might be hurt to discipline him, but your hurt will set him back in the court of Allah, and that will negatively impact his progress, which will hurt you even more. And I said to my ustad, I just hugged him and I said, what have you told me? And if you are raising children in teens, you'll know what I'm talking. You'll know what I'm talking. It is very, very challenging, and we grow together. And together we learn. Must I tell you what's the biggest problem today? We're entering a marriage with too much expectations. They say expectation brings tears, acceptance brings cheers. Accepting, but expecting that he's going to. In the old days, and not too old, I can identify with it, and the older folks will identify. You got married, there was no house, there was no home. And the marriage brought about both. Today they walk into a ready house, they are only asked, make a home. Bring warmness, bring happiness, a smile of a child, and obedience to Allah. Preserve the values we've passed on to you. Bills are all sorted out. Everything is taken out. And yet the younger generation cannot make a home out of a house. While the old folks started off with nothing, made a house and a home. I told you that's the challenges. I was saying, we are an obedient nation. Someone said, what's the difference between parents and farmers? Farmers are in agriculture and parents are in agriculture. Farmers are in agriculture and parents are in agriculture. Agree. May Allah guide our youth. May Allah protect them. May Allah make us the correct guardians and parents. So long story short, he said, I need to get married. He takes the step and he gets married. Now look at the wisdom of this child, and I salute him. He realized, صَرَفَ قَلْبَهُ عَنِ التَّطَلُّعِ إِلَى الْبَنَاتِ الْأَبْكَارِ اللَّاتِي يَلِقْنَ بِشَابٍ. He said to himself, you cannot get married to a young spinster as much as you are of age, because currently you need a spouse, but you also need a senior person to take care of your sisters and reduce the burden of your mother. Can you imagine how selfless he was and how broad his vision was, that he was ready to compromise on his own choice of a young woman like any youngster would have, in the interest of keeping the home in order and bringing a caring hand over his sisters. So he said that I need to get married. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Alaykum bil abkar." Get married to an unmarried woman. فَإِنَّهُنَّ أَعْظَبُ أَفْوَاهَا وَأَنْتَقُ أَرْحَامًا وَأَرْضَى لِلْيَسِيرِ. That they are sweet, they are polite, they are more fertile. I gave this talk, one point of this in Canada, in a large audience. After I completed, a sister came up to me and she said, Sheikh, you mentioned this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that he encouraged and exhorted the men to get married to women who were previously not married. I've gone through a divorce. Where do I stand in the equation? And at that time, Allah put the thought in my heart and I said, sister, it was not meant or designed to offend you. I was merely communicating a hadith. Suffice to say, from the 11 spouses of the Prophet ﷺ, 10 that he wedded were all widows. Said, Jazakallah Sheikh, you've touched my heart. I cannot ask for better. My mind was oblivious of this reality. That's perfectly well. Perfectly well. People take things out of context and they want to do selective hearing and code it out of context, and then they want to give this wrong image. How many times people do this? Look at the ayah of the Quran. Look at what came before. Look at what came after. Understand the message in a holistic way.